All right, guys, so just to update after the crazy final Saturday of the regular season for college basketball, we got 2 tickets punched. We got Fairleigh Dickinson advancing to the NCAA tournament off of a technicality, clinching the auto bid because Merrimack is not eligible. And it is such a shame, of course, guys. Merrimack, that team had Final Four potential. It is very sad, but congratulations to them. They're going to the NCAA tournament officially. And then we did have Southeast Missouri State, going after upsetting Tennessee Tech. You know, I was really high on Tennessee Tech as a potential Sweet 16 team, but this upset happened, so congratulations to, this team. What a weird abbreviation. So it's Southeast Missouri State? That's what it is. It's very odd, but they are going, so congratulations to them, guys. Now let's give everyone an update, a breakdown on Saturday. How about Texas A&M? What a second half they've had. You know, they started off the season ranked. They hit a really bad dry spell early, but they have turned it on. They've got a great record in SEC play, and they beat Alabama, and there just is something off about Alabama. I think they're getting hit with a horrible dose of karma recently after the Brandon Miller situation. The game they played against Auburn, they had no business winning. They were trailing the entire time. They come back to win that. This game against A&M, they were getting crushed early. They come back, take the lead, and then A&M ends up winning. I'm concerned about Alabama going into the tournament because karma is just not treating them nicely after the way Nate Oates handled that Brandon Miller situation. How about Iowa State leading wire to wire? The Big 12 is a gauntlet any team can win on any given night, and that is a brutal home loss for Baylor because, Baylor was possibly looking at being a 2 seed. Losing that game at home to Iowa State is really going to hurt. That's a big win for Iowa State. They had faltered recently there. Seton Hall crushes Providence. Providence has not been playing well recently. I believe Seton Hall is 17-14 now. Let's put them on the bubble. Bubble watch. Marquette beats St. John's by 2 points. That's crazy. That game didn't even go to overtime. 96-94. Very elite offense by Marquette, but you got to start questioning that defense. Marquette floating around a 2 or a 3 seed, giving up 94 points to St. John's in regulation. That's a real bad look. West Virginia beats Kansas State. Kansas State struggling recently when it was looking like they possibly could have been a 2 seed. They lose. Big win for West Virginia. Certainly at home, they needed it. Auburn beats Tennessee. Tennessee is really taking on some water now. They're losing too many games. That's a big win for Auburn, who was kind of trending, on the bubble maybe, although they were kind of one of the teams that had a bye, like the last teams that had a bye. Now they should be clearly in the tournament, beating Tennessee. Very good win. And then for Tennessee, are they possibly trending as a low 3, maybe even a 4 seed at this point? Virginia takes care of business against Louisville. Not surprising there. Louisville's had a horrifically bad season. Kentucky beats Arkansas. They led that game pretty much wire to wire. That's a good win over an Arkansas team that I still think has potential in the tournament. If they're an 8 or a 9 seed, depending on what number 1 seed they get, if they get Purdue in the second round, that could spell trouble for Purdue, even though Arkansas has been losing lately. Oklahoma beats TCU. This is the Big 12. A lot of people said the thing with Oklahoma, if they were in any other conference, they'd probably be in the tournament. They're probably good enough to make the tournament. They just play in a very hard conference, and they end up beating TCU. It'll be interesting to see how some of these mid-level Big 12 teams do in the tournament, like a TCU. Texas beats Kansas in a heavyweight top 10 matchup. Kansas is still firmly on the 1 line, but that is a big home win for Texas. Miami beats Pittsburgh 78-76 in a battle of the overrateds. Neither of these teams should be ranked, where they're at. Miami at number 16. They're probably more of a 6 seed. Pittsburgh is nowhere close to a top 25 team there. You had Xavier beating Butler, so Xavier taking care of business against a bad Butler team. UConn beats hard-charging Villanova, so Villanova's kind of turned their season around recently, at least a little bit, but Villanova handles business on the road. The heavyweight nightcap Pac-12 game goes to UCLA at home. UCLA trying to gun for a 1 seed. That'll certainly help, and that'll really push Arizona back, possibly, on the 2 line, maybe even lower. And then San Diego State takes care of business, uses their defense, holds Wyoming to just 50 points overall there. Just looking at the bubble update, the last 4 byes. So it's pretty crazy that Pittsburgh right now is technically an AP top 25 team, but they're on the bubble. They're in as a last 4 bye. NC State is in, Auburn is in, and Rutgers, who has really fallen back. They are the last team in that has a bye. And then you got the last 4 in overall, so these teams would play in the first 4. Mississippi State versus Nevada, and then Wisconsin and Penn State. A lot of people are angry that they have Wisconsin in this tournament because they are a really weak team. But I like Penn State personally. First 4 out. I mean, you got to put Utah State in. It's so hard, but Utah State has such good metrics, and I know people are going to say that's because they play a bad schedule when you compare it to these other teams. I don't know. I think Utah State's metrics should put them in. Clemson, I think Clemson is terrible. Oklahoma State and Arizona State, first 4 out. And then Michigan, they've got a huge game today at Indiana. If they lose that, they could be done. North Carolina had the crippling loss to Duke last night. That North Carolina, after being the preseason number 1 team, is on the verge of missing the tournament. How about Vanderbilt getting a shout out? So they're a new team to appear. It's like a new Pokemon appears on the map. Vanderbilt has appeared, and they're charging up. And then maybe Oregon, and then also maybe in the hunt, Ohio State. Even after their loss against Michigan State, they're in the hunt as well. How about this? So people were talking about this yesterday. Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, it's a cool idea, but it is a little distracting when looking at the court. We're talking about the TCU court. We know Oregon does stuff like this. TCU has decided to... I guess this wasn't from yesterday because this is TCU versus Oklahoma, but I just saw a photo of this and apparently someone just talked about it on Twitter, and yeah, it's kind of a weird court design. I mean, it looks cool. It's trying to do like a 3D thing, like the court is indented, but that would kind of be distracting. I really wouldn't like that personally, probably. We've got championship games happening. It is Kennesaw State versus Liberty. Oh, we got to go with Liberty here. Liberty basketball, join the movement. Liberty is good, man. Imagine Liberty being, a 13 seed, a 14 seed, whatever they're going to be. The metrics love them. They're top 40 in terms of T rank. Yeah, they're impressive. And then UNC Asheville against Campbell. Give me Campbell to win that one as the 7 seed. Imagine if they did. That'd be great to see that. But those 2 championships are happening. And then we have more seeding updates from CBS Sports. You can see the consensus number 1 seeds right now. Kansas, Houston, Alabama, Purdue. But let's say that Purdue loses today. Does UCLA, after beating Arizona yesterday, get pushed to the 1 line? Would UCLA want to go to the 1 line if they're not out west? It'll be interesting, but I'm guessing what would happen, UCLA could replace Purdue as the 1 seed in the West. You take a look at their net rating. They are 4th right now. Purdue is 5th. So Purdue needs to win this home game today at 12:30. Certainly, The other one seeds, we all know it's going to be Kansas, Bama, Houston. No changes there. Even with Kansas and Bama losing, their resumes are just too good. It is some, you see Kansas, and again, the metrics really don't love them in terms of their net rating. They are 7th. And then your 2 seeds, you're looking at Marquette. They had that close win against St. John's. The net doesn't love them at 13. Texas, certainly they got a big win yesterday at home. And then it's surprising. I had to check to make sure this was up to date, but CBS Sports still has Kansas State as a 2 seed. That's just shocking to me. I understand the quad 1. I understand the tough schedule, but I think Kansas State's probably got to fall to a 3 seed personally, but there's also been other teams that have been losing. So the 3 line right now, Arizona, I mean, do you really want to keep Arizona as a 2 seed after losing to UCLA and being in that weak conference with that bad schedule? It's a tough call. Gonzaga is hard charging. If Gonzaga ends up beating St. Mary's again and winning their conference tournament, could they be a 2 seed possibly? UConn is a team that's really been winning a lot recently, and the metrics love them. They're 6th in terms of net. And then Baylor, who lost yesterday, they're probably bumped from having a chance to go to the 2 line. They're sitting in the West region as a 3 seed. Virginia, to me, they're basically locked into a 4 seed right now. Tennessee, I mean, their net is 3rd in the country, but Tennessee is an enigma. They just keep losing. They don't have a good offense. Indiana as a 4 seed, we'll have to see what they end up doing in terms of the Big Ten tournament. And then Xavier as well, sitting on that 4 line from the Big East. If they were to win, the Big East tournament, they would certainly move to the 3 line at least. And then this is kind of just a comparison right now of teams on the bubble. The first thing you want to look at, it's not perfect, but the net. I mean, Iowa State's not on the bubble to me. I don't even know why they're on here. They have 9 quad 1 wins. They're 19th in terms of net. They're in the tournament. Auburn's in the tournament at this point. They just got a huge win against Tennessee. So those teams really aren't on the bubble. Arizona State, that's not a good net. They have 4 quad 1 wins. You compare them to a team like Clemson, who's 61 in terms of net. They're 4-3 in terms of quad 1 games. I mean, look at Clemson's strength of schedule. That might be what kills Clemson. Clemson's strength of schedule, if you look on the far right, you can see SOS and then non-conference strength of schedule. Clemson is 144 in terms of strength of schedule, and then they had one of the worst non-conferences in the country. That might keep them out. I think Clemson needs to at least go to the championship game in terms of the ACC conference if they want to be in. You have Memphis sitting there. I think Memphis is clearly in the tournament right now, 36 in terms of net. The only argument you can make is they've only played 4 quad 1 games. Michigan has work to do at 53. They're 3-10 in quad 1 games, but they have a good strength of schedule. Mississippi State is kind of that hybrid team. They're 46 in terms of net. They've won 4 quad 1 games, 55 in terms of strength of schedule. Really bad non-conference. But we will have to end up seeing. I think Boise State should be in the tournament. I know they don't have a great. I mean, even you take a look at their strength of schedule, it's 29th. It's better. It's right on par with Michigan. It's better than Mississippi State. It's better than Memphis. It's way better than Clemson. So that's just kind of an interesting, little thing there when it comes to those teams. Texas A&M fans chanting, "Lock him up," towards Brandon Miller. Yeah, man, I don't know what happened to Alabama. I don't know if they're getting hit with karma or what, but they do not look like the same team. And Texas A&M, that's a big win for them. Joey Gallo just put a hit on the rest of the NEC. Joey Gallo? I thought Joey Gallo's striking out, man. What are you talking about? Against the odds. So these are the best teams. This is actually a really cool thing. You can see the best win percentage against the spread and the over percentage. So teams that are higher play higher scoring games like UAB, and then teams furthest to the right are better against the spread. So Pittsburgh, Florida Atlantic, Kansas State, Texas A&M, Nevada, those are teams that are really good against the spread. Teams on the left, which are your typical, overrated teams. You're looking at Ohio State. Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, they're going to be on the left so that they perform worse. Vegas expects them to cover and they don't. And then, teams lower are defensive-minded teams. So Penn State definitely. Imagine in the MAC championship, Penn State versus Toledo. That's a real clash of styles right there, considering Toledo being an offensive-minded team. But that is certainly a cool graph there. But guys, that is just an update today here as we are on to Sunday. There's 2 more, I think, tickets to be punched today. So we will update the situation on that, and then I'll give the full official Big Time Conference overall tournament bracket predictions tomorrow when they're all official. But that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description.